Oh, what? The music's not playing? No, the music's not playing. Of course it's not. Oh, fantastic. Fine. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed. I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. I'm happy to be here with you today. It is September 17th, and everything that could go wrong has gone wrong today. Our system crashed at 2:15, and we tried to bring everything back up, and the system crashed again. And so we had to redo everything, and our camera is wrong. I don't even know if sound is working right now. I know that Rumble is down right now, so we're not live streaming there. I don't know who's seeing this, who's not seeing this. This is literally the third time I've tried to start up and capture everything. Oh, hey, Graham, you're there. Thank you, Graham, for being here with us. And I know a lot of people have been, you can hear me. Fantastic. So what happened, folks, is for those who are not familiar, we have been doing this live stream for about 6 years now. And literally 5 years, and this is the 38th episode. And normally we start exactly at 2:30, usually 2:30 in 30 seconds, 2:31. We're very good at that. But our system, we're one person. Everything, we don't have tens of thousands of people like MSNBC or CNN. We don't even have hundreds of people like some of these other channels may. It's a one-man operation, and when the system crashed, I'm the only one who can fix it. So that's what I've been doing, and we believe we brought the system back up. But our goal every Sunday is to be able to have a conversation with you about the issues that are affecting the world and affecting you. And we do look forward to hearing everyone's comments on YouTube. As you can see, Graham has been responding to us. You can as well. We should be up on, we should still be on Facebook. You should still be able to see us on Twitter, and I believe DLive. I don't believe Rumble is up at this moment, sadly. So we can't do anything about that. But we're going to do the very best we can to try and get this information to you, to share it and have this conversation with you. That being said, there's a lot going on. There was 9/11 happened this week, obviously a very big deal. Or middle of this week, we were talking about book banning with Larry Sharpe and Charla Burnett, a liberal. And we had a live stream about that on Wednesday at noon. And we have seen that Joe Biden has lied to the American people. He has lied to the world. We see that Iran is laughing to the bank as they prepare to to expand global terror because of $6 billion that are being spent. And there's so much that's going to be affecting us. Please bear with me. I understand. We may have technical issues here, but the subject matter is what is important, okay? So I want to talk about this issue right now. You can see this on the screen. This is from the European Union, Deutsche Welle, the German news station. What you see on the screen right now, and no, my face is not there. I can't do anything about that. It's just not showing up, so I can't do anything about that. But what you're seeing on the screen, this is Italy, okay? And this is a facility that is meant to hold 400 refugees or illegal aliens or migrants, whatever you want to call them. 400 of them from Tunisia. And in fact, what you're seeing there is that facility is trying to handle 4,000, 10 times their maximum capacity, have swelled into Italy because of the difficulties happening in Africa at this moment, where we see with the Sudan, what we're seeing with Niger, and the many other different countries, Mali. And so there is a significant problem. But the thing I found most interesting about that is that when we look at this situation, and if we listen, and I believe I have the right moment here. Here it is. I want you to hear the Italian Prime Minister. Okay, she's been identified as someone who is a conservative, which according to the European Union, well, that means it's 1930s Germany all over again. It's not. Listen to what she has to say about this wave of migrants, these waves of illegal aliens entering her nation, okay? Let me stop right there. So the first thing that the Italian prime minister is saying to the rest of Europe and the rest of the world, if you think that just opening up the borders fixes the problem with what's happening in third world nations like Africa or South America or anywhere else in the world, you're out of your mind. It doesn't fix it. Just because those refugees, those illegal aliens, whatever you want to call them, just because they're trying to enter your nation doesn't mean, well, the problem's solved. They just come in and we pay for them. They get integrated and everything's fine. No, they overwhelm the systems that they come to. They are a burden, they cost money, and they do not result in any positive. I know in the United States we hear this message all the time from the left. Well, illegal aliens, they're a benefit to our society. No, they're a burden. They cost us money. They do not integrate into our nation. There are conflicts because of this, and we're seeing that in Italy. And Italy, for her part, the Prime Minister, Meloni, she's trying to say, hey, European Union, we're supposed to have open borders for everyone. Take some of these people. Lift the load off of Italy. We're not the only ones who have to deal with this. And this is very much like what we're seeing with New York City, what we're seeing with the southern border in the United States. Let me go back to what the Prime Minister is saying, and then I'll go to the comments. See, and there it is. Oh, yeah, it's happening at the border, but it's going to affect everyone because it's a problem that doesn't stay in one place. And the burden is going to affect everyone. Do you notice how that's analogous to what we're seeing here in the United States? Oh, you hear Eric Adams. Well, stop sending the illegal aliens to New York City. Well, they're in Chicago. They're in California. They're in Florida. They're going across this nation. In fact, the Biden-Harris administration has been shipping children all across the country, including to New York and Tennessee and every other nation. Every other state. We have been dealing with this for years under the Biden administration. We have 7 million illegal aliens. The numbers are going to come out in October. And we're going to have at least an additional 2.4 to 3 million illegal aliens that we caught and know of. God knows how many we don't know. That were invited into America under the Biden-Harris administration. They were going into New York before the first bus came from the southern border, from Texas, and sent them over to New York. They were already there. And they were still going even as Texas stopped sending people. The buses, the illegal aliens, they're not coming from Texas. They're just coming to New York. Why? Because New York is a sanctuary city and a sanctuary state. Just like they're going to California, a sanctuary, several sanctuary cities and a sanctuary state. They're going to where they have been invited. They're going to where they know they will get paid. And the same thing that's happening here we see with Italy. The same exact problem. They're going to Italy because they're going to get paid. Even the conservative government of Italy, conservative, a government that was demonized because they're conservative, is saying, hey, we have an open border policy and we're going to take these people in. But the European Union that demands Italy takes those people in, they need to help. And the rest of the European Union saying, it's hands off. We don't want to deal with this problem. It's your problem. Did you notice that, folks? The rest of the European Union saying that Isn't that like New York City saying, it's not our problem? Look, we asked for the illegal aliens. We asked for 113,000 illegal aliens to come into New York City. We're asking even more of them to come into New York City and New York State. But we can't pay for them. It costs $12 billion. $12 billion. We're spending $60,000, as we have covered on this channel before, on these illegal aliens. Let's spread the problem. We're going to send them to upstate. Did upstate ask for them? No. But it's their problem now. And now we're going to send some of them over to Pennsylvania, into New Jersey, into Ohio, into Chicago. We're going to send them around the country and around New York State. Why? They didn't ask for the problem because they have to just deal with it. Just like Italy saying, well, you just got to deal with it. It's your problem too. And that's what we always get with these things. Now, let me go back to some of the comments, and I see Graham is with us. John is with us. Let's see. So bear with me, folks. I'm trying to see the comments, and I see... So Graham is catching up with us. John R. says he's good. He's glad that we're up today. Sound. Okay, the sound on the video is... I can't help the sound way it's going across. It should be transmitting fine, but as I said, everything crashed, so I don't even know which of my systems are up or down, but that's why I have the text enabled. But what we're seeing in Italy is a microcosm of what we're seeing here with the United States, with New York City, New York State, and the southern border. That you're not going to solve the problem with whatever, no matter how many legal aliens enter your nation, there will always be another wave coming. And Italy's been saying this for some time. We're seeing this throughout all of Europe. 2 years ago, we had the waves when they opened up all their borders 3-4 years ago. There has never been a stop. It's just different nations. Now they're coming from Tunisia. They were coming from Mali. Then they were coming from the Middle East. They were coming from Iraq, and they were coming from Afghanistan. The place they're coming from isn't changing. No, rather, that is the only thing that's changing. The thing that isn't changing is that there's always another wave of people who want what you have because they don't have it. There's always another third world, second world, someone down on their luck that wants to go into your nation and take your resources and be given a better quality of life paid for by you. That's what's happening here in America. And the leftists, the socialists are telling you, and you have to pay for that. Not, mind you, they don't do it in Martha's Vineyard. In the homes of many of these elected officials, in their stars, they're not dealing with this. They push that problem to you. You got to live with it in the ghettos, in the poor parts of your nation, the poor parts of your town. You have to deal with it. They don't. I think it's rather insulting, and I think it's very upsetting when we see that happen. And we are seeing this happen before our very eyes. Now, let me also bring up that many of these nations are seeing this as a blackmail. Matter of fact, if we go to, and I know you can't see my face here, I'm working on it, but if we were to go to, I believe it's, I know, you won't be able to read the words on the screen. You may not hear it, but read the words. Oh, sorry. Okay, so again, what do we see? Again, coming from Deutsche Welle, looking at this, everyone keeps saying the same thing. This isn't going to end. This is a problem that cannot be resolved by throwing money at it. This is a problem that you are going to continue to see happening because it never ends. Over and over again. Let's see. Graham says, can't read the words. Okay. Well, the words were on the screen. I do have the text, the translation up on there for English in case people ever want to stop and read that back. But essentially what we're hearing is every expert, whether it's the Prime Minister herself or anyone else, they keep telling us this problem doesn't go away, no matter how much money you throw at it, no matter what nation is throwing money at it. And no matter whether it's Italy or Germany, France, the United Kingdom, they keep having the problem because they haven't resolved the inherent problem. And that's the fact that you're a first world nation and every other nation isn't. So there will always be someone wanting to come into your nation and you're going to pay them. And as long as you have made the promise to them, oh, you can come in, the laws don't matter, they're always going to come. They're always going to come and take what you have because you have offered it to them. It's exactly what we're seeing in New York. It's exactly what we're seeing at our southern border. It is exactly what the Biden-Harris administration has offered to the world at our southern border in our immigration policy. And the United States is failing just like Europe is. It's failing like every nation that has had an open border. And this is important. And we see this with Deutsche Welle and all the news agencies over and over again. And this is destabilizing the world. Why? Because we have places, in particular, part of the reason why it's so bad these days, why are Tunisians running into Italy? Why are they trying to escape their home country? Well, part of the reason is because, well, there are military juntas, West African countries, that are in Mali, in Niger, and Burkina Faso, excuse me, I always get that wrong. And the reason why is because they've had ISIS and Al-Qaeda invading their nation, that they are fighting ongoing wars with ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Why are they doing that? Because Joe Biden released them. In September 1st of 2021, Joe Biden handed the keys to the Taliban for all of the people, all of the ISIS and Al-Qaeda criminals that were arrested and in prison. And as soon as the Taliban turned around and opened up those doors, they went over to Africa. And thus, we started seeing all of the warlords start fighting. Then Joe Biden decided that he wanted to release the Victor Bout, the Lord of War, the guy they made the movie about, the largest arms dealer, individual arms dealer in the world, helping to keep warlords alive throughout all of Africa and around the world. And global crisis increased, and more people started trying to escape their nations, like Tunisia, to go into places like Italy. But please, don't kid yourself, they're also coming to America. We have a huge number of Africans, largest numbers of Africans that have been trying to enter and are entering the United States in the last 2 decades. This is an incredible problem. And it goes back to Joe Biden and what he did to America. This goes back to bad international policy. Not just the open border, but the open border coincides with the other bad policies that we have made that have made the world more dangerous. And Joe Biden has no end in sight about this, and no one wants to talk about it. Let me try and give you a better idea of what I'm talking about here. And I know I seem a little I'm a little dissembled today because of how we started, but let me settle into this. The United States has long said that the left, the Obamas and Biden and the far left has said, okay, we need the Iran nuclear deal. This is the thing they want. They want the Iran nuclear deal. In 2016, Secretary John Kerry told us that by having the Iran nuclear deal, what we did is we traded Iran getting nukes immediately for global terrorism around the world. That's a fact. John Kerry admitted the United States was paying for global terror in the world. And obviously that was a problem. So then we had President Trump who said, no, kill the deal because we don't want to pay for global terror in the world. That's a problem. Biden gets in. He says, no, day one, I want to pay for global terror so that I can say I have nuclear peace and people will reelect me. Now, mind you, we're just trading one form of warfare for another. Instead of the threat of a nuclear weapon, we're getting the actual terrorists going around bombing people and suicide bombing. And that's a problem. But we were told by the Biden-Harris administration that even though they want the Iran nuclear deal, they absolutely, positively would never make a concession to Iran. We're not going to lift any of the restrictions to get the Iran nuclear deal, nor are we going to deal with Iran if they continue to mistreat women. That was the promise made to American people as recently as December of 2022. And then you look back in the history, and the fact is that we have, in fact, this is February 4th of 2022, the U.S. grants in sanctions relief to Iran as nuclear talks are in the balance. The United States was lifting sanctions in February of 2022, as we covered on this channel, and as you can see was being reported by the Associated Press. Biden lied to you. And Biden lied to you a lot about this because right now we have the prisoner deal and we're being told this isn't a ransom. We're not lifting sanctions. We're not helping Iran. Yes, we are. We know this. The White House prisoner deal the White House is telling you it's not a ransom. We're just paying $6 billion and we're getting 5 prisoners in exchange for that. That's called a ransom. Anywhere else in the world, I give you money, you give me the people. So they were kidnapped and we got them back. That's a ransom. I know it's world politics, but it's the same thing. And going along with that, we are funding global terror in the same exact way that we did in the past. And we're doing this because as part of this deal, Joe Biden thinks he's going to get the Iran nuclear deal. He's going to give $6 billion. He's going to get 5 prisoners, and he hopes to get the Iran nuclear deal back on track, to sign that back on. So that's what the ransom is. We are trading 5 prisoners for $6 billion and a signature on a document that doesn't mean anything because there's going to be more global terror in the world. Nobody wants to tell you this. Nobody wants to be honest with people and have this conversation. I may be explaining it poorly today, and I apologize if I am, but I want you to see this. So we know that the Iranian president has said, this is from NBC News itself, that he will use the money however and wherever that he wants to. He doesn't care what the American president says. I believe it is, where's the quote? I believe the quote is here. This money belongs to the Iranian people, the Iranian government, so the Islamic Republic of Iran will decide what to do with this money. Humanitarian means whatever the Iranian people need it to mean. So the government of Iran will do whatever it wants with the money. Because you're being told, no, the $6 billion, it's not a prisoner exchange. We're not exchanging the money. It's not a ransom. And the $6 billion, it's going to help get global peace because of the Iran nuclear deal. But Iran says they're going to use it for global terror. It's right in black and white. Even the left-leaning news media can't avoid the fact that we are, in fact, trading money for prisoners. That's a ransom. And that Iran is going to use the money, whether or not they sign the Iran nuclear deal, they're going to use the money for global terror. They just told us that. They don't care what Joe Biden says. Once we release this money, and we are, they're going to use it for terror, just like they did on the Iran nuclear deal in 2016. They're going to increase more terror, and they're going to have more people running away from the Middle East and from Africa and going to first world nations. Not just Italy, but they're also going to go to the United Kingdom, and they're going to go to the United States. And we know that the United States has an open border. We know that we have 7 million people that we caught, and God knows how many we didn't catch, that are coming in. We know for a fact that the southern border, as in Arizona, that the gates were welded open to make sure that illegal aliens would be able to enter the United States. And we have people like Eric Adams in New York who is standing and saying, come on in. We have 3-star, 4-star hotels. We are literally kicking mothers and families and the homeless out of hotels, out of these shelters, to put illegal aliens in them instead, in 3- and 4-star hotels. Think about that. This is how crazy the system is. We don't even see this in Europe. We are literally taking these people. So we are funding the global terror that these people are running away from. They are running away from the actions of the Biden-Harris administration. Biden-Harris released the prisoners, and those prisoners went into Africa and the Middle East. They became part of the Taliban. Where do I have it? I have it here. We've seen this because it happened under Obama as well. This is the Obama era. Remember those 5 guys we exchanged? Bo Bergdahl, a traitor to the United States, a guy who tried to get his own American troops killed. We traded the American Taliban for these 5 Taliban leaders. And what did they do? They immediately turned around and went out and tried to support more of Al-Qaeda and ISIS. That was the answer. This is not new. We've been doing this. We see that the left, under Obama and Biden, and now under Biden and Kamala Harris, they're continuing to create the problem. They released the prisoners. Those prisoners went throughout the Middle East. They went throughout Africa. They started having riots. They started trying to have coups. They tried civil wars. The people are running away from there. Those people are going into first world nations like Europe and the United States, which increases the cost, which increases the burden. We punish our own American citizens to take care of these illegal aliens for a problem that started with the Biden administration. That's just insane to me. And nobody wants to point this out. I mean, nobody in the United States. We are seeing that this is the Taiwan news, and they're telling you this is a big price. This is, along with what we saw with the NBA, Brittany Griner, that this is enormous. Yes, we got 5 citizens back. Yes, we got Brittany Griner back. But what are we losing to get these things? We're losing freedom. We're losing American citizens. We're losing stability in the world. We have to go to the Taiwan news to be able to be told what is the cost of what the Biden-Harris administration's foreign policy is. what they are doing to us as an American people and to the rest of the world. And we're being told from the left, don't worry, you're just being a nice guy. Go ahead and do it anyway. Just do it anyway. It's not even like we're seeing Iran isn't even keeping their promises. Remember, Joe Biden said he would never do a deal. December 2022 said, I wouldn't deal with Iran anyway because of the women. As long as women are being tortured, they're not going to do anything. Guess what? Look at Iran right now. According to PBS News, yeah, women are still being tortured. They still suffer exactly the same. Nothing's changed. Except Joe Biden doesn't care. Joe Biden doesn't think you're going to care. All right. Let me move forward. It's really upsetting to me that we know Iran doesn't care and Iran wants to kill Americans, and they're going to use the $6 billion to kill Americans to increase the amount of global terror in the world, and the Biden administration is going right ahead. And no one's questioning it, and we're doing this on the day. We said okay to this deal on September 11th, the day that we are remembering 22 years of how these terrorists attacked American citizens, killed 3,000 American citizens, innocent individuals just going about their daily lives. But maybe Joe Biden didn't remember because he was in Alaska instead of being in New York. And why was Joe Biden in Alaska? He was in Alaska because he wanted Kamala to be in New York, because Kamala needs a boost in her popularity, because Kamala is being set up to take over for Joe Biden, because Joe Biden with his son Hunter Biden are facing huge criminal charges. We'll get to that in a second. But when you point these problems out to the left, you get things that are kind of like what we see with Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner here says, and he said it on September 8th, last week. You may have heard this. For our democracy to survive, two things have to happen. He has decided, Rob Reiner and those who think like him have decided you only have two options. That's it. That democracy can only exist in their mind in two ways. One, Donald Trump needs to be convicted. Wait a minute, but what if he's innocent? He has to be convicted for January 6th. But wait a minute, that's why we have a trial. That's why we need evidence. A lot of people say there's no evidence that shows that Donald Trump organized anything. There's no evidence to show that Donald Trump was trying to overthrow the government. There's no evidence that has been presented. Not one shred of evidence that has been seen yet that said Donald Trump was asking for violence. What is he going to be arrested on? That he's a Republican? That he's a conservative? That he's not a Democrat like Rob Reiner? He doesn't explain. He just says, oh, yeah, something happened on January 6th that he didn't like, and so everyone he doesn't like has to be convicted of a crime. Okay, he goes on to say there can be no third-party candidate. So even for Democrats, what about the Libertarians, the Green Party? What about other Democrats? No one else gets a choice. You get nothing. According to Rob Reiner, you have only two choices. If you don't think like him, you go to jail, and you don't get to have a voice in our election process unless you subscribe or agree with his point of view. Isn't that what we're seeing with the Biden foreign policy? Don't think about the consequences. Just do what we said. This is Rob Reiner's idea. This is the Biden foreign policy right here. Oh, yeah, we want Iran to sign the Iran nuclear deal. We're going to give them $6 billion. You don't get to question it. And you don't get to think about the consequences of it. Just agree. Don't say anything. Just go ahead and do it. Doesn't matter what else happens. This is Rob Reiner is in charge of the Biden-Harris foreign policy. And by the way, that's evil. John mentions, Mike, did you hear about my friend Teresa Bokanovak running for presidency? No, I have not. Now, I'm not saying that. I'm sure there are many Democrats who are upset with what the Biden-Harris administration, what the far left are doing, what Rob Reiner is suggesting they should do, which is basically authoritarianism, to shut down people, to say you can't run. According to Rob Reiner, your friend can't run. No, okay. She's been getting national attention. And yet, according to Rob Reiner, no, she doesn't get to do anything. According to Rob Reiner, she needs to be silenced. That should really disturb people. That should really make people upset. And I understand. I'm glad that, like RFK, even Marianne Williamson, who I think is a complete joke, they should be able to have their voices heard. They should be able to run if they want to run. It is America. But Rob Reiner would say, no, you can't do that, because he's an authoritarian. And that's what we get when we go on this path with the rest of the liberals, the rest of the Democratic Socialists. They take us kicking and screaming down this path of authoritarian government. I mean, there's nothing more expressive of that than what we see here. I think we've all heard about New Mexico's governor, Governor Grisham, who decided that you don't have any rights. Governor Grisham earlier this week said, okay, you have no rights, you have no freedoms, you don't have anything. You only have the ability to think you have freedom, but anytime she wants to take away any of your rights, she just gets to say the word emergency and you no longer have a right. You want to get married to someone who's gay or straight or white or black or whatever? No, you don't get that right. Why? She can say emergency and you don't have that right. Oh, you want to buy property? You want to build a house? She can go emergency and you don't have that right. This is exactly what Governor Grisham has said to the American people. We were talking about it last week. When she took away the Second Amendment rights of American citizens, she said she can say the word emergency on any subject and you no longer have a right. You no longer have freedom. So if you want gay marriage, fantastic, unless a governor says emergency and then you don't get to have gay rights. That's what Governor Grisham is talking about when she has gone forward with her idea to ban guns, to destroy the Second Amendment. But mind you, while she said that, immediately people sued. And immediately the courts turned around and said, that's unconstitutional, you can't do that, and stopped her dead in her tracks. Now, you would think that that would cause someone to pause. But we're dealing with Democrats like Rob Reiner, like the Biden-Harris administration. We're dealing with hardcore leftist socialists, individuals that say, no, you can't stop us. You can't stop us from taking away people's freedoms and rights. We can't let people think for themselves. They have to become socialists. They must obey. And just like what we saw with Governor Hochul in New York, we saw Governor Grisham in New Mexico. What did she do? She decided to come around and say, okay, well, here's a new plan. Even though it's illegal, even though it has been expressly said that it's illegal, okay, I'm still going to have the gun ban. But I'll only do it in parks. I'll do it in parks and I'll do it in schools. I'll do it at the gun-free zones. Now, the thing that I found really interesting about this, though, is this part right here. And this is from KOB4. And what she says here, I think, is very important. Quote, since the week I decided an emergency, since the week I declared an emergency, we have seen 296 shots fired in Albuquerque and Bernalillo County. Lujan Grisham, the governor of New Mexico, said. Last night, we saw violent crime move throughout the city that resulted in a gun injury, 2 carjackings, and a kidnapping with suspects not yet in custody. I want you to think about that. What was being said at the same time that Governor Grisham was telling you she was going to take away your right? No matter what, she was going to find a way to take away your rights and freedoms because she's going to declare an emergency, as she exemplifies and tells you directly her plans to deal with the emergency failed. She is a failure. Think about that. She said there's been 296. Since the moment she screamed the word emergency and said you don't have a right and tried to take away everyone's rights, she failed because the gun violence did not go down. Criminals did not stop. The deranged were not even slowed down. She did nothing. All she did is potentially harm law-abiding citizens. How many people were being shot at? How many people who were carjacked? How many of the people that she identified as victims would have been able to defend themselves and would not be victims if it weren't for the fact she took away their rights? See, that's the other side of this that no one wants to talk about. It's the thing that I bet that if we were to talk to your friend, John, what's her name? Teresa? If we were to talk to Teresa, I guarantee that even though she's on the left, she would point out, you know what, if I'm not taking away your rights, you're going to be okay. It's only when we take away people's rights that they lose, they get harmed. When Governor Grisham took away people's rights, in particular women and the poor were hurt. She said the women and the poor could not defend themselves, and 296 shots were fired at them. 296 shots were fired, knowing that women and the poor could not defend themselves because of the New Mexico governor. That sounds evil, doesn't it? It sounds like Rob Reiner. It sounds like exactly what Rob Reiner was asking for. You don't have a choice. You have to obey. You don't get to make up your mind. And even though this is illegal, even though this is explicitly against the Constitution, she doesn't care because she's a Democrat. And it doesn't matter to her. It's not about being successful. It's about you obeying. And I think most rank and file Democrats, like Teresa, who I would be happy to talk with her about this, about why she's running for president. I think anyone who wants to, who's qualified, should run for president. But I think she would disagree with this mentality that you must obey, that you must be silent. And when people like Rob Reiner, an entertainer, tell you about your life and politics, you just have to obey. When people like Governor Grisham or Governor Hochul or Governor Newsom out of California, Whitmer out of Michigan, when they tell you you don't have a right, you don't have a choice, you're supposed to obey. That's terrifying to me. I don't think most rank and file Democrats believe that. In fact, I'm sure of it. Even think about this. This is also something that we're seeing on the federal level. Biden-Harris administration, who decided they could tell Texas in the same way that we're seeing New Mexico tell individual people you don't have a right to defend yourself, we see that the Biden-Harris administration is going out and they are trying to tell Texas doesn't have a right to defend the state in violation of the 10th Amendment. And guess what? The Fifth Circuit Court said, no, that's not true. Texas has a right to defend itself. Do you notice how all these courts, when they look at what these Democrats, what these progressives are doing, they keep coming back and saying, but you can't do that. You can't tell Texas they can't protect their border. You can't tell people, American citizens, law-abiding citizens, that they can't defend themselves. You can't tell them that. You can't take away that right from women to protect themselves. You can't do that. And the answer that we keep hearing from the progressive left is, oh yes, but they have to obey. We can do that and they have to obey. They just need to get rid of that Constitution that's in their way. Which is why we hear from the Democratic Socialists of America, they want to rewrite the Constitution. They want to get rid of the Constitution. They want to destroy it because it's in their way. They keep trying to take away your right to defend yourself. They want to take away your right to own a gun. They want to take away the rights of our states to close the border. They want to take away all these things and force you to live the life they want you to have. You, not the life that they're going to live. We're not seeing Rob Reiner, who is a multi-millionaire. You didn't see him open up his mansion and let all the illegals come and live on his property. You're not seeing Rob Reiner donate some of the millions and millions of dollars that he owns and see him donate that to, I don't know, homeless shelters or the illegal aliens that he wants to come into this nation. He's not doing that. No, that's your problem. It's kind of like Oprah. Oprah and The Rock, they're in Hawaii. And what were they doing? Oh, no. They wanted to film the forest fire. Why? Because they're Oprah and The Rock. And so when they were told no, what did they do? Well, they made a commercial anyway. And what did they say? You should give more money. You should give your money to Maui because of the forest fires. You should give your money. Oprah is a billionaire. The Rock is worth, I believe, somewhere between $500 and $700 million. Where's their donations? My $5 isn't going to make that much. And mind you, you get enough people, 1 million people donating $5, that's $5 million. By the way, Oprah could do that by herself. 10 million people donating $5, that's $50 million. That's a lot of money. Oprah can do that by herself. So can The Rock. They can donate as much as the United States can donate. They didn't. They want you to give your money. They don't want to affect their money. They could match dollar for dollar all the donations across America going to help people in a place they live. Oprah lives in Hawaii. Hey, by the way, where's Barack Obama? The guy who grew up in Hawaii, a multi-millionaire. Where's his donation? How much money did he donate? Oh, no, but because you're supposed to donate. Again, you're supposed to obey. You're not supposed to think about it. You're not supposed to say, hey, by the way, where's the donation from Obama? Where's the donation from Oprah? Where's the donation from all of these leftists who are telling us what we should do with our possessions, and they will do nothing? It's our problem, not their problem. We just have to obey, just like we have to obey Rob Reiner, just like we have to obey Kathy Hochul or Governor Grisham, because they're saying you don't get to protect yourself. You also don't get police. They defunded the police. You don't get police. You don't get a border on your state because, again, we already see the Biden-Harris administration, they're trying to take over the power of the states. So States don't have a power. The only people that have the power are the far left. And they're telling you how to live your life. They're going to tell you how to live every aspect of your life. Not their life. They get to live better than you. You're just not good enough. I tell you, this is amazing to me. Because when you really look at their policies, they are constantly telling you, you're not good enough to live their life. They get to live better than you. They're able to tell you how to live. You can't tell them how to live. And you don't get an influence on them. But you have to obey them. Why? The Rock is just an actor. Oprah is just, she's a commentator. She does interviews. She's not even a really good actress. She just does interviews. And I do not besmirch her the fact that she's worth a couple $2 billion. Good for her. I'm happy that she's worth so much money. But that doesn't mean she gets to tell me how to live my life or your life. And she doesn't get to take my money or your money to use it for something that she could pay for herself. Is that so crazy? But that comes only when we stop and think about these things and throw out the emotion. I understand the emotion. And emotionally, absolutely. If you gave money to Maui, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying you shouldn't donate to help people in Maui. Fantastic. Help them. I got no problem with that. But when we're listening to people like Oprah, I think we need to also stop and say, okay, yeah, I made my donation. Oprah, where's your 100,000, 200,000, millions of dollars that you can donate to this with no problem? Where's your money? Where are you with what you're standing for? When we hear Rob Reiner say these things, when we actually listen to Governor Grisham, and she tells us her policy failed. That's what she told us. She said, you can't defend yourself. And up until the court said, you're wrong, the actual actions of the criminals told us she was wrong. And now she's saying, no, but that's okay. Even though she was wrong, she wants to still do it. And now she's just going to say, well, now it's wherever there's a gun-free zone, we're just going to expand the gun-free zones. Because that didn't work. Just like telling people they can't defend themselves anywhere, telling them they can't defend themselves at a park or a school is just as ineffective. But it is like Rob Reiner. It is like Oprah. It is telling you how you should live your life. It is the government saying they're smarter and better than you in running your life. And I find that very upsetting. Let me go on. But we know that this week was 9/11. That Joe Biden was in Alaska. We know for a fact he was in Alaska for 9/11. He wasn't in New York. Why was he in Alaska? There is no reason. There is no non-political reason why Joe Biden wasn't in New York City or down where any of the crash sites were, or even in D.C. There's no reason for it. And he'll give you every excuse about why he could be anywhere else, but he has no reason why he wasn't there. And remembering these people. And then he lied to the American people. He told the American people that, and I want to show this on the screen. He said to the American people, Ground Zero in New York, I remember standing there on the next day and looking at the building, and I felt like I was looking through the gates of hell. It looked so devastating. Joe Biden, you're a liar. Joe Biden, you're a liar. Let me put this on screen. Joe Biden, you are a liar. You weren't in New York on 9/12. I was in New York on 9/11. I was in New York on 9/12. I was in Manhattan on both of those days. You weren't here. You didn't show up until everyone in Congress showed up. You showed up with the senators on September 20th. Now, mind you, fantastic. I'm glad that you came and you made a show of support. I'm happy with that. But you're lying to people. You're lying to people who weren't born. See, you're trying to tell the people who are 21, 18, 16, who were not alive during 9/11, who weren't in New York, who didn't have to live through that live, that you're trying to convince them, oh, see, I'm some really great empathetic guy. That's what you're trying to say, Joe Biden. You're trying to make people believe that you care about them. But how can you care about people when you lie to their face? It's such a big lie that even NBC News had to call him out and say, no, he wasn't. It should have been the first thing they were saying. That should have been the top of the list. But they had to admit he's a liar. He is an absolute, unequivocal liar. Just like he lied to the American people about the 5,000 Americans that he abandoned in Afghanistan, the 10,000 he abandoned in the Ukraine, the 15,000 that he abandoned in the Sudan. See, he expects to get away with this, and the news media is helping him because they have the same mentality as Rob Reiner. They have the same mentality as Oprah Winfrey. Obey. You're not supposed to ask a question. You're not supposed to think about this. You're not supposed to stop and say, wait a minute, that's not true. You just lied to me. You lied on September 1st of 2021. You lied when you threw those American lives away. Actually, Joe Biden has actually thrown aside 10 times as many Americans as died on 9/11. And this week, doesn't care. This week, he's so nonplussed, he doesn't care enough to even make it look like he cares. He went to Alaska instead. Alaska has nothing to do with what happened on 9/11. Has nothing to do with the Americans that he abandoned around this country. But he can lie. And the news media doesn't want you to notice it. So they buried the news. Again, they buried this. Look at what they did here. This is the story. Where does it say Joe Biden lied? Biden marked September 11th anniversary with U.S. troops in Alaska. Wait a minute. He lied. That's the first thing you should be saying. Joe Biden lied to America. But they don't want to say that. What's the first part of this? Oh, they're talking about him being in Alaska and what's going on with 9/11. And then you have to go down even further. Most people aren't reading the story at this point. And then they mention it, and then they keep going. Then they talk about everything else so that you'll forget Joe Biden lied. Because that's the only thing that's important in that story. And NBC is trying to hide it from you. Same thing as MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, all of the major mainstream media. They lied to you. They don't remember it. And in fact, here it is. We're not even 1 week afterwards. You don't even see any articles about it. No one's talking about the fact that Joe Biden lied to you. Again. Think about it. No one's talking about how Joe Biden has lied to you again. How he is manipulating your emotions again. He's done it consistently every year as he throws away more people than actually died in 9/11. And then he's lying to you about 9/11. More importantly, he's lying to the next generation of Americans to make them think he cares about them, as he keeps them from noticing what he's actually doing to American citizens, like giving more global terror to kill more American citizens. He's spending $6 billion of your money to increase the global terror in the world. That's going to hurt Americans. He's actively abandoning Americans in war zones around the world. And now he's lying to you again and again and again. I can understand why, John, your friend, Teresa, why she would want to run for president, why she would not want to support this kind of hellish, evil action. But don't worry, because, see, Democrats already have a plan in place. It's Kamala Harris. She's going to go out and get more money. She's doing her job. She's raising money. She went to, on 9/11, she got her picture taken in New York and then turned around and went out, and she went to, where was it? I believe it was in, I want to make sure I get the right state. I thought it was Colorado. She's going out to Chicago. I stand corrected. Illinois. And she's going to turn around. She went from New York. She went right over to Illinois, to Chicago, to get money. Because she's a great person. She didn't care. That's her job, to get money. Not to fix the southern border. The job she had since March of 2021. That she has failed at. Miserably failed. Do you realize that? 7 million more people showed up in America illegally, breaking the law, using your tax dollars, getting women and children kicked out of shelters. There are hundreds of thousands of Americans, tens of thousands of women who have been thrown into the street because Kamala Harris failed at her job. News media doesn't want you to think about this. I want you to think about that for a second. Kamala Harris, March of 2021, was supposed to be the southern border czar. She was supposed to fix the southern border. Instead, we have had an exponential increase in the number of people on the southern border. You were told, don't think about it. Don't question it. Don't talk about it. Just accept. Kamala Harris did a great job. But she didn't. She failed. By every metric, by every definition, Kamala Harris failed. Has she been successful at getting money, raising money, like when she goes over to Chicago? Yes. Was she successful at slowing down the number of illegal aliens entering America? No. She was an abject, absolute failure. And women and children have been thrown into the streets in California and in New York and in Chicago as well, as a matter of fact. There have been 8,000 illegal aliens that came from the border, went to Chicago, that are doing the same thing in Chicago that happened here in New York City, that Chicago can't handle it, they can't pay for it, and they're throwing women onto the street to take care of those illegal aliens that Kamala Harris is getting a check for. It's amazing what happens when we stop and we think about these politicians. It's amazing what happens when we stop and we think about what they're actually doing and what the news media has halfway told us. See, the news media is only telling you half the story. Oh, Kamala's doing great. At what? What is she doing great at? I think I have it here. Where is this? I thought I had... Because we have people... We have all these politicians right now. They're trying to talk up Kamala Harris. They're trying to tell you that she's such a great person. She's doing such a great job. That she's had such a positive impact. She's trying to tell you that she can take over and run as the president herself. Matter of fact, here it is. There's the news. Harris, there are people talking that they need to get rid of her. But the news media is saying, no. The White House is saying, no, she's doing a great job. Representative Jim Clyburn is saying, I think Kamala Harris has done a great job. Excuse me, Representative Clyburn, what did she do that's a success? What has she done that has been good for America? Name it. What has she succeeded at? But going on, he goes on to say, people want her in her first term, first 2 years, to be the kind of vice president that Joe Biden was in his 6th and 7th year of his presidency. They didn't do anything. Joe Biden didn't do anything. He passed, he had the job, Joe Biden, as vice president under Obama. He had the job to get 32 executive orders on gun control. That, yes, Barack Obama did sign them, and they did nothing. And Joe Biden knew they would do nothing. They didn't stop crime. They didn't lower crime. They were useless. So if you're saying that Kamala Harris, in the first 3 years that she's been vice president, that she's been useless, just like Joe Biden was useless, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with that. But I don't think that's what they're trying to convince you. They're trying to make you think Joe Biden did something really great at the end of the Obama presidency. No, he didn't. There's nothing that you can point to that Joe Biden did. Nothing. But, they say, the news media is saying he's great, so you have to obey and say he's great. What did he do that's great? What is Kamala doing that's great? Again, Clyburn said she's great and she's doing great. Then why can't you tell me what she did? That's the key. Clyburn's telling you she's doing phenomenal. She's doing so great. Then why can't you mention what she actually did? Why can't you actually give me the example of what Kamala Harris did that was so great? She showed up in New York City and took the picture that Joe Biden was supposed to take? That she was there on 9/11 instead of Joe Biden? That's her greatness? I think not. What did she do? Oh, she raised money for the Democratic Party. Well, that's great for the Democratic Party. That doesn't help America. What did she do, Representative Clyburn? What did she do? He goes on to say, everybody gets a learning curve in this business. You aren't born a United States congressman. You aren't born a vice president. You got to learn the job. She got elected. She has learned the job. She is doing the job efficiently and effectively. What did she do? He keeps saying, she's great at the job. She's doing fantastic. What has she done? Why can't you mention anything that she did? All she did is she had a couple of photo ops. When she went to Tennessee after the Tennessee trans shooter, did she go to see the family of the victims, of the parents of the 3 9-year-olds that were killed by the Tennessee trans shooter? No. She went to play politics. She went to the Democratic Party and told everyone, vote for the Democrats because they were in trouble. That's it. She didn't talk to the families. She didn't care. She went to, immediately after 9/11, did she go and talk about the border? Did she go to the southern border? Did she try and help families there? No. She went to Chicago and she raised money. She didn't do anything to help anyone. But you're not supposed to ask these questions. You're not supposed to think about this. You're not supposed to pause at all. You're just supposed to go, well, that's what they said. It's good enough for me. It's very upsetting. Really, it so pisses me off. And this is the reason why we see, as a fact, 52% of Americans, they want you to believe she's fantastic. Everyone loves Kamala. No, they don't. 52% of Americans do not love Kamala Harris. Only 39%, 40%. It's actually worse than you think. Because only 40% of Americans, and I'm rounding up, only 40% approve of her. So you have to wonder, if only 40% of Americans don't approve of Kamala Harris, there's 60%. They're saying 53% disapprove of her. Where's the other 7? See, they're even playing with the numbers here. They're even playing with the numbers because it should be 100%. And they're telling you, well, 52, so let's round it up. 53 and 40 doesn't equal 100. Where's the other 7%? You know why? Because the numbers for Kamala are worse than they're telling you. She has even worse numbers than they're telling you, and they're hiding it from you. That's what the truth is. That's what the reality is. Because she can't do her job. And we see that in New York. We see that at the southern border. We've seen that across the country. She has failed. And nobody in the world respects her. No, not one nation. Hell, Democrats don't even respect her. If they had respect for her, they'd at least mention the job she's doing. They'd at least say, well, she's raising money for the Democratic Party really well. When she went to Tennessee, when she went to Chicago, and she ignored the problem people were having, the illegal aliens, the trans shooter. She ignored all of that and got money. She raised money for the Democratic Party. She did a great job being a shill for the Democratic Party. And people will say, Mike, you can't say that about Kamala Harris. Yes, I can. It's called the First Amendment. Sure, I can. And on top of the fact, I've given you the context. What has she done? She raised money for the Democratic Party. She's a shill. Did she deal with the mass shootings? No. Did she stop the illegal aliens? No. Did she show compassion for the families that are being affected by this? Any of these issues? No. What she did is she got more money. She's a shill. You may disagree with me, but I think it's very accurate. With that being said, let's move on. I know today I'm a little disjointed. We started off badly because, well, the system crashed, and that threw me off. Fair enough. And I can't let you hear the sound. The systems are off. But you can leave comments. We have seen John, we have seen Graham leave comments. I know I'm rushing through some of the issues. I want to cover everything. And I know people are watching football. Most of the people who are going to watch this are after the fact. And I apologize to everyone on Rumble who would watch this live. But here's the thing. After you're done watching your football game, and I don't begrudge you, watch the football game. Enjoy football. I used to. Before they started kneeling, I enjoyed football. That was back in 2015. Haven't seen it since. So, enjoy the football game if you can. I can't. Because they're prima donnas kneeling, complaining to the very people that are paying for them to be able to be prima donnas. Here's the thing. When we're done with that, you're going to look at the economy. And you're being told day after day by Kamala Harris, by the left, the economy's great. Everything's doing fantastic. We've been telling you on this channel, it was February 17th of 2021. We told you the economy was going to turn, and we showed you the video. I've shown you the video on this channel many times. It's still up. We told you the economy was going to go down. We told you inflation was going to increase, and it exceeded. We thought it would only get to 9%. We were wrong. Got to 16%. Got to 17%, actually. We were wrong on how high it would get. But we were right that it was going to go there, and it did. We've been telling you back in February, actually January of 2022, we told you, start stockpiling food. Not just because of the global food crisis, that there's less food in the world, but also because the cost of the food, the inflation of food, was going up and up and up. And in fact, it went up over 12%. We were right. And we've been telling you this year, 2023, that the economy is in a recession. In fact, since August of 2022, we have told you the economy is in a recession. I understand. They changed the definition of the word recession. They changed the economic terms. They changed it because they didn't want to admit that they have failed you, that the Biden administration, the Bidenomics, had already failed you and is costing you money. And their answer has been, well, don't look at the inflation numbers, because you can't. If you look at the inflation numbers, they've gone up. Just like you look at your bills, they're all higher. You're making less money because you're paying more in taxes, but you have less money and you have bigger bills. That's just a fact. That's everyone in America. So they don't want you to think about inflation because they're the problem. Joe Biden, the Democrats, they keep spending money. They keep printing money. And as much as they tell you, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's called inflation. It does matter. But there's another part. They said, don't worry about that. That's not important. You know how you know the economy is doing great? The answer on why the economy is doing great? Because the unemployment rate is low. Because the unemployment rate isn't moving up. This is what they keep telling you. Because the unemployment rate's 3.5. The economy can't be doing bad. And the unemployment rate's 3.5%. Except it's not. It's 3.8. The unemployment rate increased. It's higher than it was a year ago. It's higher than it was last month. It's higher than it was 2 months ago. It went up 0.3. That is a huge increase. That is a huge increase. Think about that. I know, no one likes to look at the math. No one likes to do the math. And you just watch a football game and you're drinking and you're like, I can't do math. Okay, there are more people unemployed now than in the last several years. It is getting worse, not better. And the lie that you're being told that Bidenomics is working out fantastic. Your bills are higher, your pay is lower, and there are less people able to work. And I don't mean because of the union, the GM, the UAW strike. No, just regular people like you and me. Not the unions, which is yet another reason why you know they're failing. The union is striking because they don't have, their workers theoretically don't have enough money. Theoretically, they need more money because inflation took away all their money. It's the reason why people are striking is because they don't have enough money because inflation ate their money. Now, if you're looking at unions, there's actually a lot of other things happening there. There's a lot of politics in this. But the fact is, if the economy is doing great and everyone's making money, unions don't care. You don't go on strike when everyone's making money because everyone can pay. This is, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it's so obvious. It is so obvious for everyone, or it should be, if you take the time to actually ask the questions, to actually look at it, and to not just believe what you're told. If you don't just obey, and you actually look at the data. So the one thing that we were told, absolutely guaranteed, that the economy is doing fantastic, isn't true. Unemployment's up, which is why on September 13th, this week, you really didn't hear about the unemployment rate. Nobody wanted to talk about what's the unemployment rate. No one wanted to talk about inflation going higher. Inflation is up. You're paying more for gas and energy. You're paying more for food. Inflation is up. No one wants to talk about that. Why? Because you might not vote Democrat. Oh, no one wants to talk about unemployment because Joe Biden would be a liar. The economy can't be good because unemployment is going up. It's jumping higher. Not just up, it's jumping higher, and there's no reason for it to come back down. Oh. So Joe Biden's lying again. And we have proof. Again. Oh, so the news media goes, we can't talk about that now. No, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about anything else. We can't talk about 9/11. We can't talk about Joe Biden lying to the public about where he was on September 12th. We can't talk about what's going on overseas. We got to find something else to talk about. So their answer was, let's talk about Kamala. Oh yeah, Kamala, the person who can't do her job. But but they talk about her like she should get a promotion. Or maybe they want to talk about AOC. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez today is not watching football. Today, right now, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is out in New York City and she is having a rally. Climate change. Yay. Aren't you happy? Isn't that impressing? By the way, are people in New York going to the rally? No. They're watching football. They're out at bars. They're hanging out with their friends. They are not going to the rally. Mind you, this will be the biggest rally in the last 5 years. It'll also be the only climate change rally in New York City in the last 5 years because no one cares. But they're going to have this rally. And they're going to tell you, no matter how many people show up, it's going to be a success. Because just like Kamala going to a college, students are going to be told, if you go to the rally, you'll get extra credit. Unions are going to tell their employees, it'll be in your best interest to go to this event. The union will send people to the rally. Why? Because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a, quote, Democrat. She's actually a Democratic Socialist of America. She's a progressive, but still she's in the Democratic Party, so they're going to send people to say she did a great job and to tell you that she's doing fantastic. I mean, look at this article that's coming out of The Guardian. Oh yeah, this is going to be fantastic. More than 650 global actions. It's the largest one in 5 years. It's also the only one in the last 5 years. And AOC is going to be there to march to end fossil fuels, even though there's nothing to replace them, because solar doesn't work, wind doesn't work, geothermal, ethanol, none of them work. The only alternative to oil and gas is nuclear. That's it. But don't worry, we're going to end solar. And if we ended oil and gas tomorrow, like we keep hearing these socialists tell us, you wouldn't be able to watch TV. You wouldn't be able to go to work. We would literally shut down the entire country because we don't have enough power. Solar and wind don't work. Period. That's a fact. It's not a question. It's not an opinion. It's not a guess. It is a fact. Hard math. I know. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez doesn't believe in fact. She doesn't believe in empirical, absolute numbers. She believes in feelings. But feelings don't turn on the lights. Feelings don't turn on the stove. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez can have whatever feeling she wants. She's wrong. Doesn't work. And I'm going to get to that comment in just 1 second. Please give me a moment to get to that. But they want you to think about this with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. They want you to forget that she went on to 60 Minutes and told you that she doesn't know anything about the math. She doesn't know. Remember 60 Minutes? She's not worried about being mathematically, empirically, semantically correct. She doesn't care about being correct in terms of the data, the math, the words. She doesn't care about being correct about anything. She just wants to be right about how she feels. She wants to be right about how you feel. That's it. She wants to work on feelings. That's called a con man. That is a con. That is not, in any way, shape, or form, being a politician or being responsible. Okay, let me get to some of the comments here, because I see User Has Been Banned has joined us, and a couple of others. Let's see. User Has Been Banned, thank you for joining me, says, even CNN had a segment calling out Biden for lying and misrepresenting things but much more silly things and not the stuff that matters. Well, of course, CNN they can't say he's not a liar, but they don't want you to think about what he actually lied about or how it impacts your life, how it's important. The fact that he has abandoned 30,000 Americans, they don't want you to think about that. They want you to think about anything else. User has been banned says Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez hates the people in her district. Actually, it's the other way around. The people in Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's district hate her. She doesn't care about them. She doesn't see them. She doesn't hang out with them. She barely talks to them. And she lies to them, just like Joe Biden. She lies to them on a regular basis. Like telling people that if we just stop oil tomorrow, you'll have lights on and you'll be able to cook food, which is a lie. That is a point-blank lie. And she knows it, but she doesn't care. And this is why people in her district hate her, not the other way around. She thinks they're people to be used. And by the way, when I say that, I'm not kidding. This is from Mediaite. Words got pretty colorful. New York Democrats were shouted over. Why? Because of the migrants. AOC and Jerry Nadler. You may recall Jerry Nadler. Jerry Nadler is the guy who says that Antifa doesn't exist, even though Antifa members killed a man, what was it, a week after Jerry Nadler say that? Antifa was responsible for burning down Minneapolis, causing $2 billion of damage. Damage that's going to take over a decade to resolve, hurting black poor people more than anyone else. And Jerry Nadler says they don't exist. So that's just crazy. So that's Jerry Nadler for you. Jerry Nadler and AOC were in New York, and they're saying, hey, illegal immigration's a good thing. It's good. We need more illegal aliens, open borders. Aren't you happy? And the people in New York City said, no, because you're putting moms and children onto the streets to take care of these illegal aliens we didn't ask to come in. Because you don't have the money, and you're causing more inflation by spending money on these illegal aliens before you feed the homeless or our vets. Yeah, they were getting yelled at because they're not beloved. Just like Kamala Harris, just like Joe Biden, they're not beloved. Because the second you stop talking to believers, people who are socialists, like Matt Ryan out of Binghamton, New York, or Josh Wiley, who's running for the New York 19th District, once you stop talking to believers, then what do you get? You get everyone else who says, well, you're hurting me. You're kicking moms and putting them onto the street so an illegal alien can live in a 3-star hotel with my tax dollars. Money that I can't pay my bills for because you took them and you're letting this person live in a hotel and get room service. That you're inviting more people to go and join him with my money. That you're forgetting people around the world. That you want to turn off my lights. You want me to live, I don't know, in a cave? It's crazy. Let me go back to some of the comments here. And I apologize, folks, if I've been slow in getting to some of the comments here. Let me see. So a user has been banned, says she believes in power, her personal power. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is absolutely committed to her personal power, not to electricity, not to help Democrats. It's her personal power. Mike Bowie says, I wish you would, you wish I would stop saying they failed because all the destruction is by design. In their eyes, I know, there's a lot of people who say, when I say that Democrats have failed, a lot of people say, Mike, but they're not failing. They're doing this on purpose. Well, even if that's true, let's assume, Mike, boy, let me go with that. I know people keep telling me, Frank Johnson, who I talk with on the Liberty First Foundation, we do the roundtable on Fridays. He says, Mike, they didn't fail. They did exactly what they wanted to do. They wanted to have more inflation. They want to break the system. They want people to be homeless on the streets. They want more illegal aliens to be able to vote and to be dependent on the government. But they didn't promise those things. See, when I say they failed, when I say Joe Biden failed the American people, it's because he made a promise. He lied to us. So he failed. When I say Kamala Harris was given a job and she didn't do it, even though she didn't intend, even, I'm assuming, Mike Boy, you're correct. Let's say she never expected, she never wanted to close the border, which I believe is the truth. I don't believe that Obama or Biden or Kamala Harris, none of them wanted to close the border. They want open. That's why they welded the gates open so that they couldn't possibly ever shut the border. So they're doing it on purpose. Again, they welded the gates open. This is on purpose. They want illegal aliens to flood America. They want them to flood into New York City, into California, into the sanctuary states, to break down the system. They want that to happen. That's why they welded the doors open so that could happen. But what they promised us was the exact opposite. So they failed. They failed at what they promised us. Because when they have their election campaigns, when we see their ads, they're going to say, I'm doing great, just like Clyburn said. She's doing great. She is doing great at breaking the system. She's doing great for illegal aliens. Notice, when I showed you Clyburn's words, he never said what she did right. He said she's doing great. She's doing a fantastic job. We should be so proud of her. What did she do? He won't tell you what they did, and that's the problem. They're not going to say that in the commercials either. So the only way to convey to the average person who doesn't follow this, Mike Boy, is I have to say they failed. And I can show you what they failed at. I can't tell you what they succeeded at. I can't prove the success, but I can prove the failure. So that's why I say they failed. But let me go back to some of the comments. Does that make sense, Mike Boy? That's why I say fail. Because the average person, I can't prove the success that this was meant to break. But I can prove how they failed to do what they told you they were going to do. That's why I use the word fail. Give me a second. I want to catch up to the comments. So user has been banned says, you mean how cigarettes oligarchs want worldwide communism? Yes, there are many oligarchs that want to see communism across the world or socialism around the world. It is a scary thought. User has been banned says, yes, I saw an image. Yeah, that's what I was talking about here. This is when that video you saw of illegal aliens, or excuse me, American citizens, yelling at AOC about the illegal aliens. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So she's going, so the response to her constituents, AOC, this is how much she cares about the people. This is how much she cares about her constituents. They told her, fix illegal immigration. That the illegal aliens in New York City, her district, are hurting her constituents. They are having a problem. They are being put into the streets. Fix that problem. And the answer from AOC was, we need to get rid of electricity. We need to get rid of oil and gas. Think about it, guys. This is the response. Let me show you. People are yelling at AOC. They're yelling at AOC and Jerry Nadler. And the answer for both of them is to go and have a protest about oil. Not to fix the problem, not to have a protest about the illegal aliens, not to have a conversation about the illegal aliens. They went in the same week, just days apart. They went from being yelled at because of illegal immigration. 2 days later, they're having a protest about oil. What's that got to do with what the people have asked them for? They're not listening. They don't care. I mean, it's just that obvious, folks. It really is. It's just that insulting and that bad. It really, really is. I had something lined up, and now I don't even know where it is. I hate when this happens sometimes. So let me go on with the comments. Let's see here. Why is this? There. Now I can see. Okay. Users been banned says the fact that we have vets who are homeless or even just citizens that get spit on by the government, but the illegals get shelters and hotels, tells us the government, their loyalty isn't to the people. And I agree with you. I agree with you. When we look at AOC and Jerry Nadler, they're there defending the illegal aliens, and their response is, we have to protest oil. We have to protest for clean energy, for climate change. Really? That's your number one issue? That's your response to that? Makes no sense. Makes no sense whatsoever. And that's so upsetting to me. So I don't know. And of course, and this is all happening, by the way, at the same time that, as reported by Jason Curtis Alexander, 4 kids overdosed on fentanyl because their daycare was a fentanyl factory. Think about that. Their daycare was a fentanyl factory in the Bronx. A 1-year-old child died. AOC is busy. And what's AOC doing? The kid died. This is yesterday. Yesterday. We're being told that a 1-year-old died because of fentanyl, because of a pill factory at a daycare in the Bronx. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wants to go and talk about green energy. She wants to have a protest about oil and gas. What's that got to do with protecting kids? Okay, maybe AOC and Jerry Nadler, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, maybe none of them care about American citizens, the adults. Okay, I get that. But don't you have any compassion for the children? We're talking about kids who are being killed by fentanyl. And I know, your hero, George Floyd, he ate fentanyl like it was candy. Fantastic for him. Again, he's a criminal, he's an adult, and he's dead. I don't care. But we're talking about children getting access, being put in danger by this drug, and they can't even talk about it. Their concern is an entirely different political issue, because if we didn't have an open border, or at least as open a border as we have right now, if they weren't welding the gates open, maybe, just maybe, that 1-year-old wouldn't be in a pill factory eating fentanyl and dying of an overdose. Just maybe. Just maybe. If it weren't for Jerry Nadler and AOC so busy trying to convince people that we need open borders, if it weren't for the fact that we have Eric Adams saying, no, we're not going to get rid of the illegal aliens. We're just going to find a way to get more of them, to pay for more of them. They're not stopping the illegal aliens. It's like the problem with Italy. They're not stopping the illegal aliens. They're just throwing more money at it. And that makes more illegal aliens. The problem doesn't end. Spending $60,000 and then deciding to spend another $70,000 doesn't stop people from coming to America. Welding open the gates doesn't stop people from coming illegally into America. And it doesn't stop the drugs from walking through that welded open gate either. By the way, if you didn't know, that is a fact. We covered this a week ago. The gates were welded open in Arizona. It's a fact. It's not even a question. It's not a guess. They, according to the federal government, required that the gates be welded open as they allowed illegal aliens to enter. And the Border Patrol knows it, but they don't have enough people to stop them. So it's not a question of, is this true? We know it is a fact. We have pictures of it. It is a fact. We have covered it on this show. What people didn't think about is, what most people didn't think about is, oh, that means that fentanyl gets in the country and that means a child in the Bronx is going to die, a 1-year-old child. I blame every single person who is willing to say, oh, every single person who says we need an open border, you are responsible for killing that 1-year-old child. It is your fault that 4 children overdosed in the Bronx yesterday. It is your fault if you believe in open borders, if you believe in no borders and open and allowing illegal aliens to not be a crime and not persecuted. If you believe in sanctuary cities, then that child is on your head. I'm not the one who wanted them. I didn't want the illegal aliens in here. I want to punish them. I don't want to weld the gates open. I want to weld them closed. I want the war. I want to stop them. But it's the Biden-Harris administration, the Democrats are saying, no, it's okay. Which means it's okay to poison your kids. It's why a child is dead today. Let me look over some comments here. Users Ben Ban says, that's not an overdose, that's murder. Yeah, it is. Users ban says, well, fentanyl could be banned. It could be considered a chemical weapon. No, it's a drug. We don't need to make up new classifications. And here's the thing. The laws work as they are. We need to enforce them. It's when you have cities like New York City, when Eric Adams selectively picks what law he's going to follow and how he's going to follow it. Sometimes he's going to enforce it. Sometimes he's not. Sometimes he'll follow it. You can't do that. That's not called a legal system. That's just chaos. That's anarchy. You can't pick and choose what law you want to enforce and when you want to enforce it or who you're going to enforce it on. It's either all the time, always, or never. It's called anarchy. It's bias, what we are seeing. And it's evil. Eric Adams, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Jerry Nadler, Chuck Schumer, Kirsten Gillibrand, Josh Riley, Jason Garnar. These are the people who are responsible in New York State for open borders to some extent, either all or in part. And they're the ones who helped kill children. It sounds harsh. And I know some of these people personally. And I will tell them, yeah, supporting open borders is killing children. And I'm sorry if it's the first time someone has been honest with you, an American citizen, to tell you that when you support open borders, this is the consequence. Something that we've been talking about over and over again. And maybe this time, maybe all the other times you didn't care about the money, you didn't care about all the other political problems that come with it. Maybe you didn't care about the money and how it's just bankrupting the nation. You don't care about the inflation. Do you care about a 1-year-old child? And I guarantee you that wasn't the first kid who died because of the open borders. Not even close. Whether we're talking about the illegal alien, the children that die on the 2,000-mile march that they often go through to get into America, the children that have been sold into sex slavery and die because they came into America through these open borders, or now we're talking about drug mules and kids who accidentally get access to these drugs. Yeah, all those deaths are because of the open border. And if you support the open border, you support killing these kids. There's no way around it. There's no two ways about that. You may not like it. It may not feel good, but it is empirically, factually, mathematically, semantically correct. Even if AOC doesn't like those things. Because whether you like it or not doesn't change that's what it is. Let me go back to some of the comments here. China has supplied fentanyl into America. Yes, they are one of the main reasons why we are getting flooded with this through the cartels. China is creating the fentanyl, supplying it into the cartels who are selling it into America through their drug mules that are going through the open border that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez supports and Kamala Harris doesn't care about. That's the reality of it. I agree with you. I agree with you. And I think it's important that we point out what the real world costs. I've gone over many, many times the financial cost, how it's affecting you financially, how it's affecting you and the United States economically, how it's affecting the world economically. Maybe that doesn't make enough sense for people. And I've talked about how this has been promoting slavery, human trafficking if you prefer. Whichever word you want to use, because they're the same thing. But if you like to be nice and you want to feel good and say human trafficking instead of slavery, fantastic. Because it's the same thing. Slavery didn't end in 1865. Did not stop. It continued. It exists today. There's more slaves today than at any time in the history of mankind. And part of the reason why there are that many slaves is because of the open borders in the United States. That is a fact. It's not an opinion. It's not my truth. It's not your truth. It's the truth. It is empirically correct. Whether you like it or not means nothing. It is true. And because of that truth, children are dying. Whether it's because they're being kicked out of shelters and out of hotels to live on the streets and they die because of starvation or just living on the streets, the weather, or because they are getting access to drugs that they would never otherwise have access to. Why don't we call out these politicians for this? Why is it when these politicians, these news media, when they're talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and they're talking about, oh, look, they're going to be having a march about climate change. Ooh, climate change march. Why don't those same members of the press ask her at this event, oh, it's great, it's wonderful, you want to do climate change, good for you. By the way, your support of open borders is leading to fentanyl getting to 1-year-old children. What do you have to say to your constituents? No one in the media will have that conversation. No one is going to confront her, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, with that. Or Jerry Nadler, or Chuck Schumer, or Kirsten Gillibrand, Josh Riley, Jason Gunnar, Donna Lopardo, I'm just going through various Democrats who are in elected office throughout the state of New York. No one's going to ask any of them this. They'll never be asked to answer this question. It's very upsetting. I'm very upset by that. It's aggravating. I don't know. Am I wrong? I mean, I know where you stand, user. And I'm pretty sure where Mike and John are. But, I mean, if you're watching this, share this with other people. Clip this part of the video and share it with people and say, okay, for everyone you know of, for everyone you know that believes in and promotes and shares on Twitter or YouTube or Facebook, and they share something on open borders are great, illegal immigration is a good thing, sanctuary cities are great, fantastic. Share this clip talking about, okay, so you're okay with killing 1-year-old children. You're okay with fentanyl poisoning children, throwing children out into the middle of the street with their moms to starve to death. You're okay with that because that is the direct consequence of what you have asked for. And you support the politicians that support doing that to women and children. I guarantee you they won't say, I guarantee if you ask the average American, do they support that? They will not look you in the face and say yes. Even the far left won't look at you in the face. Well, most of them. Most of them, maybe the Democratic Socialists of America, they might look you in the face and go, yeah, they don't care. Why? Because they want to see a purge. They don't want the population. They want to see people die because that's what socialists do. They kill people. So do communists. That's what they do. They kill people. More people have died because of communism than any other reason in the 20th and 21st century. Just saying. User says, out of sight, out of hand. They'll say it's not related. Yeah, they can see. They'll always say it's not related, except it is related. We know it's related. It is empirical. It is a fact. We know that people who are crossing the border are being used as sex slaves and drug mules. That is a fact. We know that one of the drugs they are bringing from China through Mexico, through the South, into America is fentanyl. That is a fact. We know that fentanyl and opioid overdoses have increased exponentially under the Biden-Harris administration. That is a fact. And we know that that fentanyl is getting into our communities, just like I showed you in the Bronx, which is getting to children, and those children are dying. That is a fact. We know for a fact that the illegal aliens, whether they're drug mules or sex slaves, or if they're innocent people, they are being put into hotels, 3-star and 4-star hotels, and into shelters. And to get them into those hotels and shelters, we are actively having mothers and children thrown into the street. That is another fact. These are facts. They are empirical. Whether the left wants to admit that or not, whether they like to understand that, to think about it or not, it is a series of facts. They cannot deny it. They can say they didn't know. They can say that they willfully did not want to think about it, but it is a fact. Their feelings have nothing to do with it. When we need to confront them with that, we need to say, here are the facts. The fact is you support killing children. And I don't mean abortion, because they may or may not, but they definitely, if they support open borders, they support killing children with fentanyl. You know, let me see here. John says, did you hear about the left-wing race-baiting comedian Hassan Piker? The YouTuber Hassan? He's a joke. He's a moron. Admitted to lying and making up stories in comedy to push his agenda. I'm not surprised. I mean, Joe Biden makes up stories on a regular basis. Again, Joe Biden lied on. It seems to be okay for the left to lie to the American people. The news media lies and says, hey, the illegal aliens, they have nothing to do with fentanyl. Yes, they do. Open borders has nothing to do with the drug trade. That's a lie. Joe Biden lied about 9/12 being in New York. He lied about the Americans he abandoned around the world, now up to 30,000 and counting. Kamala Harris lied and said that she cares about people when she doesn't talk to people. She wouldn't talk to the parents of the 3 9-year-olds that were killed by the trans shooter. Did not talk to them. She doesn't care. She has no compassion in her heart. She left New York City on 9/11 to immediately go over to Chicago to get a check. She doesn't care. These people have no compassion. Okay, Hassan Minhaj is not Hassan Piker, the guy on YouTube. Okay, I don't know who he is. So it seems this Minhaj guy has a Netflix show, which I don't watch cable. People forget, I don't watch cable. I don't care what's on cable. I don't care what's on streaming. I don't watch these things. I don't find them funny or entertaining. The last thing I saw that was entertaining was The Lord of the Rings. Oh, no. I stand corrected. The last thing I was watching that was entertaining was season 5 of what is it? Tyrion's in it. Come on, guys, help me out. Tyrion, the Starks. I'm forgetting the name of the show. Not House of the Dragon, the one before it. Because I saw House of the Dragon. I did see that. So there it goes. I stand corrected. The last thing I saw streaming was House of the Dragon, which I enjoyed. Before that, I saw Game of Thrones. That's it. Game of Thrones season 5 was good. And I haven't seen anything else on streaming that was actually worth the time, so I don't bother. I play video games, I watch anime, I know none of these comedians. Thank you, yes, Game of Thrones. So who this Hassan guy is, no idea. The fact that he lies to people, not a surprise. But he's going to say, this Hassan guy, if he's saying he's a comedian, his job is to lie to people. His job is to make people laugh. So if he lied, doesn't matter as long as people laugh. And that's going to be his excuse. So that's what he's going to say. And he's going to replace Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah was an idiot. Trevor Noah is not a smart man. He did not replace Jon Stewart well. He did a horrible job on The Daily Show. Did a horrible job. Made it absolutely partisan. Not funny at all. Lost the audience. I'm not surprised that he got fired. Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah got fired. He didn't leave because he wanted to do something else, because no one cared who Trevor Noah was. No one cared that Trevor Noah left. No one cared. No one was watching The Daily Show anymore because it wasn't funny. And so if they get this new guy who's now, as you're telling me, is a liar, someone who admits that he's willing to lie to get the laugh, okay, and I'm not going to hold that against him. Comedians make people laugh. Sometimes they lie. That's fine. I got no problem with that. If you're telling me that he's saying it in his regular life, when he's not on stage being a comedian, that he's lying to people just to get his political points across, then I'm not surprised he's going to be part of The Daily Show. I'm not surprised that he's part of the left, and he's just as bad as AOC, who's busy trying to tell you, worry about climate change. Don't worry about that mom we just kicked out onto the street so that illegal alien can live in a hotel. Worry about climate change that might affect the temperature in 100 years, maybe, if the eco-fanatics are right for the first time ever about the climate. Because that's the other thing, by the way, people forget that these eco fanatics have never been correct about climate. Just like a weatherman has a the weatherman who tells you what the temperature is going to be tomorrow has a 50-50 shot about getting the weather right. They are more accurate than any climatologist having told you anything. They've told you that there's going to be, what was it, 1958, global famine, 1970s, global cooling, the 80s into the 90s, global heating. Then it became, now it's climate change. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. They have never been correct. But you're supposed to change your life because they said so. Greta Thunberg, who is making millions, telling you how to live your life. Yeah, ask Greta, how do you get across the country? Greta, how are you getting across the world? You're not swimming. You're not taking a boat. How much greenhouse gases are you causing? Just wondering. Just wondering. And by the way, I am more concerned about the mom that they just threw thrown out onto the street because illegal aliens who didn't deserve to be in this country got to be in there. Yeah, I'm more concerned about that than maybe the temperature going up 1 degree in 100 years. Yeah, the weather predictors change the weather daily. Yeah, weather changes every day. Climate change my ass. Anyway. These are some of the things that upset me. Now, I know it's a little bit short today. Partially because since I can't take calls, our phones are still down. I still don't have a phone yet. When I can afford the phone plan, I'll turn the phone back on. Partially because, obviously, the system was broken today, and I have to fix my computer. So I'm going to let everyone go. I know it's only been 2 hours, but we started late. I still got to get this transferred over and up onto Rumble. But I want to thank everyone. I'll fix the computer. I have everything ready. Actually, by next Wednesday, because I'm going to be doing the Wednesday afternoon with Larry Sharp. I'm going to be talking with Larry Sharp, a libertarian, and Charla Burnett, who is a liberal. And we're going to be talking at noon, lunchtime, having a little bit of a debate. Last week, it was fantastic. We'll do another one. So I got to get everything ready before then, as well as there's a meeting in New York next week in Staten Island that I will be going to and probably covering live. So with that said, let everyone go. I thank you for watching the program. Please clip whatever you need to send it out to everyone to let them see it. Even when I have a bad day and I get a little disjointed, I tell you, we tell more truth on this channel than CNN will do in a month. I guarantee it. I thank everybody. I want you to be well. I'll talk to you again soon.